The eviction notice in my trembling hands had my family's name on it, but my signature at the bottom. After 7 years of being their silent ATM, watching them treat me like a ghost with a credit card, I had just become their landlord. And they had no idea it was me. My name is Sarah, I'm 32. And this is how I went from being the family scapegoat to owning the very roof over their heads. It started when I was 25. Dad lost his engineering job when his company downsized, and without hesitation I stepped up. I was working double shifts at a marketing firm while running a freelance graphic design business from my tiny bedroom. Every paycheck went straight to their survival. Mortgage payments, utility bills, grocery runs, medical emergencies, even my sister's college tuition. For 7 long years, I was their invisible hero, paying for everything while living on instant noodles and broken dreams. I never asked for gratitude, just basic human decency. Last March, after I had just paid off Dad's $15,000 medical debt from his surgery, I made one simple request. I asked if we could create a family budget where everyone contributed something, anything, so I wouldn't have to carry the entire financial burden alone. That's when Dad exploded. "You think you're some kind of saint," he screamed, his face red with rage. "You're nothing but a parasite with a savior complex. We never asked you to pay for anything." The words hit me like physical blows. Mom sat frozen at the kitchen table. My brother Jake didn't even look up from his phone. My sister Emma just shrugged and walked away. 7 years of sacrifice and I was the parasite. That night I packed one suitcase and disappeared. No dramatic goodbye, no explanations. I simply vanished. Then I did something that terrified and liberated me in equal measure. I canceled everything. The automatic mortgage payments, the utility transfers, the grocery subscriptions. All of it stopped. For the first time in 7 years, they would have to figure out their own survival. My phone exploded with panicked calls and texts, but I let each one go to voicemail. "Where are you? Why are the lights off? The water got shut off." I listened to every desperate message, and each one reminded me that I had never been their daughter. I had been their personal bank account. 3 weeks into my silence, a manila envelope arrived at my new job. Inside was a document that shattered whatever was left of my heart, Dad's life insurance policy. My name had been quietly removed 2 years earlier, with the reason listed as unreliable beneficiary. Unreliable. The woman who had single-handedly prevented their financial collapse was deemed unreliable while they continued cashing my checks. They hadn't just taken me for granted. They had actively erased me from their future while bleeding me dry in the present. That's when I knew this wasn't over. I wasn't just walking away anymore. I was taking back control. 3 months later, fate delivered the most beautiful irony straight to my phone. My college friend Marcus texted me, "Hey, isn't that your family's duplex on Maple Street? My dad's real estate company just acquired the building. They're planning to flip it unless someone wants to take over the lease. Interested?" I stared at that message for 10 minutes, hardly believing what I was reading. The very house I had saved from foreclosure dozens of times was now available for purchase. And I had something I'd never had before. Savings. Without their financial parasite draining my accounts, I had managed to save $40,000 in just 3 months. I took the meeting immediately. The building was in terrible condition. Peeling paint, broken fixtures, neglected maintenance. It was exactly like my relationship with my family. I had been holding everything together while they let it rot from the inside. Using my savings, excellent credit, and a small business loan, I purchased the entire property under an LLC called Second Chance Properties. No traceable connection to my name. No way for them to know their former ATM was now their landlord. The paperwork took 3 weeks to finalize, and every signature felt like reclaiming a piece of my soul. The day ownership officially transferred to me, I received a voicemail from Mom that I'll never forget. She was sobbing uncontrollably. "Sarah, we got a notice that they're selling the building. We're going to lose the house. I don't know what to do. Please, if you're listening to this, we need help. We're desperate." I played that message 3 times, waiting to feel guilty, waiting for the old programming to kick in. Instead, I felt something I'd never experienced before. Power. I sent them an official notice from Second Chance Properties giving them 60 days to vacate or negotiate a new lease at market rate. They showed up at my apartment 4 days later. I don't know how they found my address, but there they stood. Dad with his arms crossed like he was still in charge, Mom looking confused and desperate, Jake holding a grocery bag like some pathetic peace offering. "Can we come in?" Dad asked, his tone somewhere between annoyed and pleading. "No," I said, standing firmly in my doorway. "Look," he started, his voice cracking slightly. "We're going through a rough time. You've made your point, but family helps family. You owe us that much." I actually laughed. Not kindly, but with genuine amusement. "I owe you. I gave you everything for 7 years. You called me a parasite and erased me from your insurance policy." Their faces went white when I mentioned the insurance policy. They realized I knew about their betrayal, and the power dynamic shifted completely. "I know everything," I continued, looking each of them in the eye. "You made me your backup plan, your silent mule, and when I finally got tired you tried to erase me. Well, now I've erased you from my life." But then I smiled and delivered the killing blow. "However, I'm not heartless like you were. I'll give you a choice. You can stay in the house, my house now, and pay full market rent like any other tenant with no special treatment, or you can leave. Your call." The silence stretched for an eternity. Finally, Jake spoke up. "You're bluffing." I held up the keys to their house, my house, and said, "These say otherwise." They chose to leave. No begging, no negotiating, just stunned silence as they realized their former ATM now owned their entire world. They moved in with my aunt across the state, and we haven't spoken since. 6 months later, I renovated the duplex completely and turned it into a beautiful rental property. The monthly income covers all my expenses and then some. But the real victory isn't financial. It's emotional. I wake up every morning in my own space, surrounded by boundaries I built, paying my own bills with money I earned, living a life where I matter. When people ask if I miss my family, I tell them the truth. I finally found one. It's just me, and I'm enough. If this story resonated with you, you're not alone. Sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones we love most. But remember, your worth isn't determined by how much you give or how useful you are to others. You deserve to be valued for simply existing. Share this story if you've ever felt invisible in your own family, and remember, sometimes the best revenge is simply refusing to be anyone's backup plan ever again.